at us now. Looks like they're all adults. It's actually nice when it's choppy like this. They got to pick their heads up out of the water more to get a breath, so you kind of get to see that big smiling face as they approach us from the back of the boat here. And pass us by. Got a good feeling about this. We're gonna go a little ways further and then I'm gonna start drifting again, but 3 whales right off to the side of the boat here. Oh, big juvenile there popped up on the port side. Wow, when we first got out, it seemed a little patchy. I could see, a couple spots where there's some whales surfacing, and now I'm looking around and there's no, big pods or anything, but there's lots of whales. They're popping up all over the place right now. Bunch of them here, 4 next to the boat. On the port side, they came up and they're swimming parallel to us right now. We're getting closer here to a point where I'll stop. Just not wanting, it's pretty rough. I can't go too fast, and this actual kind of steady pace seems to be working pretty good. The whales a lot of them are kind of following along with us, so we'll just maintain this pace and go a little further, and then I'm gonna flip around and shift back to neutral. Major scarring on the back of that one too, on its near his head. It's the second we've seen with some big scars. Could actually be the same whale too. It's just behind the blowhole. It's like a big gouge, and it looks more like a fresh wound. Hasn't completely healed yet. See if he gets close enough, maybe I can snap a photo. It's gonna be pretty difficult here while we're moving and the water being so choppy. Last thing I need to do is drop this phone in the water. Right next to the boat there. Ooh, that's definitely a fresh wound. He just showed up in front of the boat now. They can sure cover ground when they decide to. He was behind us on the port side before, and now he's in front of us on the starboard side, just like that. Ugh. The shutter isn't as responsive on the phone, so it's a little delayed. I'm not sure if I got a good photo there or not. Big group coming up behind us now. I'm gonna drop the underwater cam. There's a whole bunch of them. Oh, there we go. Now they're getting vocal. I'm gonna slow down here too a little bit. Getting busy out here now. Been using the port as a reference kind of to see how far we're going. So pretty much that entire time since we've started driving, trying to get back down river here, we've been in line with the port. So I think most of you have likely seen a photo of the port in the gallery. You kind of have a rough idea how large it is, and we've been cruising for, I don't know, at least 10 minutes maybe, and we're still haven't made it the length of the gallery yet. Give you an idea, I guess, on with the wind and the current, kind of we're puttering along pretty slow right now. Well, with the big scars keeps reappearing, but he's not giving me an opening to snap a picture. Alright, we got a whole bunch of whales here right now. We're gonna do some drifting. They're getting a lot more vocal now. Huh, right when I say that, they all seem to vanish. I can see a lot. They're all going downstream right now. They're closer to the port, but there's just seems to be a steady flow of them, and they're all headed out towards Cape Mary. We'll drift for a minute, and if we don't get any activity, then I'll just continue on, and we'll try to head more towards the mouth of the river and try our luck there. See if it gets any more wavy or what the conditions are like. Good shot from Jurgen of that pectoral fin. I think the other day, I'm not sure who it was, did get a snapshot of the pectoral fin with the curvature that I was talking about earlier. So as they age, the whales, they'll actually, it's like similar like kind of finger bones in their pectoral fins, and they'll start to sort of bend backwards and create a upwards curl in the fin. And I was chatting with Stefan about it, and he said it's actually, it's not, I mean, in my mind, first thinking about it, I thought it was going to be flexible or somewhat pliable, but he said it actually grows and it's pretty rigid. He said if you were to like grab onto it, it'd be like a handle, like that's kind of how stiff or firm it would be. And they don't really know why that happens, if it's something to do as they age. I've got a couple whales, because it does look like it's the older whales that that happens to. If it helps kind of streamline them in the water, or they don't know what the cause is, or the reason, I mean. There you got an adult and a juvie kind of headed our way. Might be able to pick up in the mics to get here one of the choppers, HBH, the Hudson Bay helicopters, doing a tour, or likely doing a tour. They're cruising overhead right now. It's actually one thing I've wanted to do is go up for a tour and get a aerial view of the estuary, and just to see all the whales like on a nice calm day when the water's good, the visibility's good. It'd be awesome to see just all the whales swimming around in the bay and the estuary. I got to go out last year in September. We flew over in a chopper. We were headed out to North Knife River, but that was later in the season when good majority of the whales had already left. So when we did fly over the river, we did see a few. It was cool. The water was still pretty murky, but I'd like to see it when it's a large volume of the whales. Looks like we've been steady here for a few minutes now without buffering or dropping out, so that's good. Oh, we got a whale coming up on the port side here. Two of them maybe showing up, I think, in the cams here shortly, or if not already. Visibility looks half decent here too right now. Sun's coming out, that's gonna help. Looks like we're getting some snapshots, a couple showing up. Oh, it's hard to tell, there might be a little calf down there too. I got the cam pointed in that direction, so let's see if they get close enough. Right now we're just idling here again, we're drifting. These whales here just hanging out too. Some scars on the top of the head of this one. Not sure if he's gonna come up for a breath. I might be able to get a photo. Oh, he doesn't want to come up. He's kind of rolling around down there, and there he is. We'll see how that photo turns out. Hopefully you guys are getting some decent opportunities for some of those snapshots. These whales right now, they're just floating around with us. Just hanging out. Not sure what there is, maybe half a dozen or so. We'll see. It seemed like last time there we got a few whales and then a couple more show up, and then it seems like the more that are coming, it's enticing others to join as well, and we ended up with a pile of them around the boat there for a few minutes. It's easily 20 whales, I'd say, at least, for hanging out around the boat. And we had one coming up in the back trying to bite the stream of water that's coming out the back of the motor. Had that a few times last year too. Today it's almost like the way they're behaving, it's they're coming up to the surface and then they're sort of popping their heads out a little bit, but it's not usual like they'd come out, take a breath, and then go back under the water. They seem to sort of be lingering. It's almost like they're scoping me out on the boat here, wanting to get a better view of what's going on the beluga boat. But yeah, they seem very curious today for how much time they've been spending with us. A little juvie. Just a little guy come up behind the boat there. So I've got two in my sights right now that I could see. One adult, he's got a good decent amount of scarring on his back and around his head, and then a little juvie, maybe 6 or so feet long, or 7 feet long maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. There they go, poking their heads out. You guys might be able to see that in the cam. So you got a snapshot of a footprint. You'll see the whales, they'll blow bubbles, and then the bubbles come to the surface. Kind of creates a smooth, flat area on the top of the water, and they call those footprints. It's actually a good way that people use to track the whales. If they dive under the water for a long period of time and you're not sure which direction they're heading, you can look for their footprints and it'll give you an idea where they're headed. There, we got another small group. Look like 4 mainly juveniles. They're under the boat here now. So hopefully this helps you guys kind of differentiate between the adults and the juveniles. I'm sure it's just looking back at photos and stuff, it is really difficult to tell. For how long it took us to get to the point of drifting, we've already floated back upstream about that same distance. We'll actually get moving here again and start going back sort of parallel along the port. There's a few whales in the area. We'll see if they show any interest in the boat. It's got a few seagulls hovering overhead. I'm wondering if they can see some capelin, because there is a couple whales around. I don't see any feeding behavior happening, but the seagulls have been hanging out for a couple minutes now. I mentioned the other day, the whales, they'll eat between or up to 50 to 60 pounds of food every day, which is quite a lot. In less than a week, that means that one whale will eat more food than the average person will consume in a year's time. I thought that was pretty crazy. I guess, well, they're obviously quite a bit larger, but even that, they're in cold water, so they're probably burning through a lot more calories. But yeah, in a week's time, they could eat more than we do in a year. Is still, no matter how you look at it, that's pretty wild. We were talking about possible reasons they migrate to the estuaries each year. There's different ideas or theories. They don't know for 100% certain, but they also believe they spend the summer fattening up, feeding and feasting and getting ready for the winter when they head back up north. We're getting close to when the tide's going to be flipping and heading back out, so I'm sure we're going to be covering ground a little bit quicker, heading back downstream. We'll still have the wind to deal with, but we're not going to be fighting so much with the current. We'll have the tide going out, and we'll have the flow of the river helping us out there. A few groups of whales out off in the distance. I haven't noticed anybody coming to check us out, but maybe once we get a little further, they'll swing by. See some bubbles behind the boat. Might have a visitor. Well, pretty soon we're going to start seeing the geese coming back. They're going to be looking to migrate back south, which is sort of crazy to think. The summer went by really fast this year. And usually here when you start seeing the geese moving, then that's kind of, I guess, time you're preparing now for fall weather and looking at the winter. Which isn't all that bad either. I love the summer and I like spending time out on the water and hanging out with the whales, but last year was my first year being out on the buggy with the polar bears, which was an amazing experience too, so I'm looking forward to doing that again this year as well.